Hey guys, what's up? I just want to come to you quickly to kind of elaborate on the topic I was speaking on the other day about false control and people who apparently have false memories. Now, I don't really think these people have false memories. I think that they have a psychological problem where, and I do mean that. I don't say, I have a master's in psychology. I don't, one of my master's degrees is in psychology of culture, or it's similar to cultural psychology. It's not the same. One is based upon culture in general, and one is based upon specific cultures. Okay, so I know to you, you don't care, but for me, I always say psychology of culture so that you understand there's a difference. The other is an MPH, right? And my bachelor's is in sociology. So everything I've ever done, and the MPH is based upon mental health. It has an emphasis on mental health, right? So everything I've ever done has been in sociology, psychology, mental health, and so forth and so on. And of course, the emphasis has always been on the need for cultural, you know, understanding in these areas. So what I'm trying to say is, I understand that people have difficulties, okay, with reality sometimes, and I'm not joking, but it's to a point where people are appropriating fantasy with what they want it to be. They're not going to take reality for what it is because they're jealous, they're insane, because they're scheming, because they're thieves. Maybe they're racist, maybe they're sexist, maybe they're all of these things. But when reality comes into play and people pretend like they don't see it, or they continually pretend like it's 1999 or 92 or 2000 and whatever, 2005, maybe the last time I've had a real, relationship, because I'm too busy for that right now. But if somebody keeps pretending, perpetuating 2003 or something, because that's the last time they saw you, right? You worked with this person maybe, or I don't know, you went to school with this person. Maybe this person is just mentally abusive to other people in general. And because they feel like they can try to make you vulnerable, they'll try to attack you with what they, perceive as being vaguely the truth. But sometimes I can't even imagine someone who wants to make someone smart stupid to make themselves feel better, or make someone into some type of Jezebel who, what I mean, isn't anywhere near that type of thing unless you're viciously doing that. And then you gaslight the people, you smile on their faces or behind their backs, or I should say talk behind their backs. These type of things are vicious. They're not even stalkerish. It is stalking, because if you perpetuate that into some form of hallucination, psychoticism, psychopathy, where it becomes real to you. That's why I say I don't know, because this person or persons that keeps doing this is on the line, right, between psychoticism and reality. And I'm serious. Like, I've moved, I've come back, and things have been appropriated in my house that I'm like, what the hell? Food in my refrigerator I can't eat. I'm talking about stalking. And I've told you, activists always have problems with police harassment. Black women in general by themselves do. One thing that will always, until they fix it, perpetuate white male supremacy is law enforcement in any sense, because they are the epitome of hypersexuality and hypermasculinity and really homoeroticism, if you really want to know the truth. But I'm not going to get into all of that. But they're the ones who are perpetuating the notion that we are lesser than they are as women, and they can perpetuate things as fantasy to be true. I mean, seriously. So when you look at a person who you want to perceive as being a certain way, vulnerable, immature, uneducated, hypersexual, you're going to keep pretending that that's true. For what reason, I don't know, because you have those insecurities you're projecting within yourself, right? And you're internalizing and you're projecting. And you find someone, you say, oh, I'll choose this person. She never liked me. She never spoke to me. She was too good for me. She, I'll find her. She has vulnerability. You know, I know she's in a bad situation because she's by herself. She needs some money, or I'm going to perceive it as being that way, and I'll try to take advantage of this person. Then all of these other elements come into it, related to jealousy primarily. But a lot of times people will internalize racism, other black people, and then white people will come in on top of that, and they'll just add things in there. You'd be surprised. I've been compared to being, a gay person. I mean, really predatory in all sense of the word. Anything that you can find that is predatory towards this person, it is an all-out attack. Now, what gets me is that people are listening to this individual or these individuals because normally you would say, this person is psychotic. You need to leave that person alone. You need to stop pretending. You need to stop stalking this individual, right? Because you are obsessed. And it does remind me of that Mariah Carey song, Why You So Obsessed With Me, right? Eminem may be stalking me. I really don't know. I think he's pathetic. But if he wants to stalk me, well, I think that's cowardly. I think anybody who stalks anybody else is cowardly. I think you're a BS artist. And I think this individual is as well. But the point is, if you keep living in the past, you're in 2003, 2005, and even then you were make-believing things. That's why it's so hard for me to understand. And it's 15 years later and you're still pretending the same damn thing. To a point where people are worried about their physical health. People smoking all around me. I'm worried about my heart and my heart condition, that I could be developing when I, don't smoke anything besides a vitamin stick, which I told you guys about the vitamin stick a few years ago. I still use Vitastick from time to time, or Monk Q or something like that. Those are really actually very good for your lungs, and they're good for my asthma, which is getting worse. And so physically I have to get up and move. Right? To a point where you start to ask yourself, at what point will this person be held accountable, person or persons? Because they think they've gotten away with it. And they'll, get all smug because they want a reaction. And you don't give a reaction. And unbelievably, this is me you're talking to, who's an expert at psychology. These immature idiots will start the cycle over again if they don't get a reaction. But my concerns are, one, they're getting paid to do it. If they're gang stalkers or they're working anywhere near law enforcement and they're getting paid for harassment, they're going to pay me. And I don't even want any money. I just want this group of son of a guns to go to damn jail. But if I'm constantly moving, and I know I almost finished my PhD, I was working on it, but I ran out of money, as many people know. I needed about 15 grand. And I still might go finish it, but you realize I have a lot of student loans. I have 2 children. Gets to the point where you want to put your children first. And I like to make sure that we're as comfortable as we can be. Because that's just life, You're a single parent, you do what you need to do. You can't be too selfish. So I will get back to that. But the point being, when you're interrupting your own life, there are times I had to get up and leave my job. I had to get up and leave my neighborhood. I can't live here. I can't go to school. I can't go to this job. And this person may feel like they've triumphed or something, like I'm afraid of them, And if I develop some type of physical illness, from all of this chaos, smoke-filled apartments and moving and all kinds of nonsense, if I start to develop physical illness, at which point, and I am concerned. There was something a few years ago where they weren't quite sure. It was just something that was off. And that's, cultural competence, right? For those of you who understand what that's about. In the medical field, there's something called cultural competence. And what that means is when Black folk primarily, there's other people of color as well, but it's mainly us, go to the doctor, we get subpar treatment. And that's what's happening to me. I literally will go to a new doctor every 3 to 6 months, if not sooner, trying to get an answer to a medical question. And that's why I still don't know what happened to me a few years ago. I went and did literally everything I could. I went to cardiologist. I did the stress test. I did all this stuff because you're talking to a person who doesn't smoke. I drink rarely, no big deal. I don't have high blood pressure, don't have hypertension. Yes, I am getting up there in years, but I'm a fairly healthy person. And, not feeling right. My chest hurt. I said, okay, well, I'm going to attribute that to asthma, which I shouldn't have either. But we all know why people in the hood, because this ain't no different from the 80s, still have the highest levels of asthma in the Black community. If you guys didn't know that. Yeah, we're not Urkel, and we're not a bunch of white folk. We got asthma, right? Because our air is dirtier, and people don't care about situations where they shouldn't be smoking in buildings or across the street, or you walk through neighborhoods and you walk into something that smells like weed or cigarettes or whatever, like in New York. They don't care to clean up the streets. They just don't, you know? So we have higher levels of asthma, and we have for a very long time. But as far as where I'm saying and where I'm going with this is, I visited several doctors. You realize in the South, too, where I am, they're very racist. And I mean, I didn't get a distinct answer. I'm like, well, do you think it's this? Do you think it's that? And I'm offering all types of explanations, and I'm getting the runaround. And it's not the first time. I don't think it started in North Carolina. It started years ago back when I was in Virginia. And I remember a doctor, I went in, and I said, I'm feeling bloated. I don't know what's going on. And my back hurts. And I'm thinking, well, I hope it's not my kidneys or something like that. And he says, oh, no, it's nothing like that. We just need to go and do some exploratory surgery. So I said, okay. He said, come in for the appointment, which I did. And I wasn't going to be put to sleep. I was going to be awake, and they were going to, do whatever. Do you know this man put me to sleep? A doctor. And I woke up and I'm like, I thought, because at the time of the event, of the surgery, I didn't know he was going to put me to sleep until that happened. And then I was like, what? You going to put me to sleep? I didn't even know till 5 minutes before he did it. Now you tell me about the type of moral evaluation that you can give a doctor like that. But because I'm a Black woman, no big deal. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to believe you anyway. And to this day, I don't know what he did. And he didn't say specifically what was wrong. And that's another thing. That's not just me. It's common for them not to tell you what's wrong with you. Oh, she's not going to be able to handle it, or some other placated excuse. Something to make you feel devalued as a person. Oh, I didn't want to hurt your feelings, or we couldn't do this. And it's really just like benevolent misogyny, right? If you ever heard of that. When a man holds a door but forces you to go through it and will not let that door go until you go through it. Like, I'm holding the door, go through it. It isn't like, if I said, I wasn't going through the door, this would make any sense to this person. You just assumed that I was. And I told you to go ahead and let the door go. Oh, you don't appreciate the fact that I'm holding the door for you? Right? You should appreciate the fact that a man is doing something for you. That's what type of thing it is with Black folk. When you go to the doctor, it is a lack of cultural competence. They actually believe that Black people feel pain at a lesser amount than white folks. There's a lot of doctors who are trained today, and they will tell you they're trained that way, that we have a higher tolerance for pain. There are doctors who go into the hospital who themselves are sick, who are Black, who get that treatment. Did you guys see that story about the woman who had COVID, who was a doctor? And she went in there and she asked for pain meds, and they told her she was crazy. You ain't in pain. What you want some pain meds for? Who do you think you are just because you were a doctor? You ain't get no pain meds. You're probably some addict or something, they always go to drugs whenever anything is pertaining to a Black person. She probably on drugs. And this woman said, I'm in pain. And I know that this is the protocol. They're supposed to get pain at this percentage, at this level, for this patient at this time. And they wouldn't give me any pain medication. And that's when you're like, cultural competence. We have a higher tolerance for pain than white folk in their minds. And you're probably on drugs or something if you want some medicine, because why do you want medicine? You're a strong Black woman. We know how y'all did in the slave fields and everything else. You don't need no damn medicine. And it's absolutely absurd because it kind of infuriates you, right? Not only does it dumb you down, you think that a MD will make you someone who gets respect, even by another doctor, you think that might have some impact upon it? But this is how Black women get treated. At any given time, they will come up with a stereotype threat. That's a stereotype. You're an addict. You want pain medication, and I dare you to ask for some. If you were in here for freaking COVID, right? All these people that died from freaking COVID. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You know, crazy stuff. Whereas they would throw pain medicine to somebody else. Now, on the other hand, like I say, when my back was hurting, I mean, really hurting to the point I thought maybe I had broken something or what have you, they were throwing pain medicine at me left and right. And I wanted to go in and see if I needed surgery. And they gave me every obstacle. Physical therapy. They threw these big old pain meds at me, which I don't even take because I don't even like them and they don't even work half the time. Just an insult. And that to me was same thing. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Go to physical therapy. And later on, you know, after years of physical therapy, you know, I went to other doctors and I said that physical therapy doesn't work. And they were like, oh, we know. I would know it doesn't work. Everybody says that. Okay. Now, I'm not saying some physical therapy sessions don't work because I've actually taught people who are in school to be physical therapists. I'm not disowning the craft. I'm just saying for certain conditions like the one I had, they'll try to put an easy label on it and just to get you out of there. Oh no. We're not going to deal with you Black women today. You just coming in here complaining about anything. You know ain't nothing wrong with you. And that's what type of treatment that we constantly get. You know, I'm not talking about these stupid Kevin Samuels misogynist Black men who are obviously overcompensating and he may be gay. Who cares? I'm over that. Or whomever, whatever other Black man it wants to internalize and project misogyny. I'm just talking about in general. Happens with white physicians. That happens with a lot of physicians. And I'm telling you, including my asthma, the only person that prescribed the right medicine for me, and she was an Asian doctor, was a person of color. You know, the first person that really helped me with my asthma was a Black doctor when I was at Howard. And I'm telling you, I had gone to physicians and they just threw stuff at me. After I left Howard and I went to another doctor who was of non-color, he just was like giving me all kinds of stuff. Could have been cough medicine or some crap. It just did not work. Zyrtec, but it wasn't, you know, the type that I needed. It was just some over-the-counter stuff. And it wasn't what I needed. I needed immunotherapy, right? It's very serious. You need to have a specific medicine. You need to know what you're doing. Not until I went to another doctor of color. And that heart, you know, thing, going through a stress test. I mean, the man actually laughed at me, who was a white doctor, when I was doing the stress test. He was like, you're perfectly healthy, and checked all of this off. So I'm going to the doctor the other day, and I don't know if this lady is, or if these people here are, I don't know what's going on, but they're like, oh, well, we need to do just a double check on your heart. It's not abnormal, but we want to check it again. So you can imagine the frustration of, you know, like, are they thinking we're stupid or are they thinking they're smart? If you know what I mean. But whatever way that they're going to picture you, they're going to portray you, is going to make you look like you're the stupid one. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how many degrees you have. You're always going to be a Black woman. I'm always going to have to come back and remind you every 6 months of a stereotype that you miss. Even if you're not the type to internalize them, which I obviously am not, I'm going to make you understand what you could be. And don't you ever forget it. You know, if you don't have the highest income, remember, there's somebody I can compare you to that doesn't have an income who's this, this, and this. Now, remember, you know, that even if you do reach a pinnacle of having a PhD and several master's degree, you still don't have a high income. And a lot of professors don't, unless they're tenure, and even tenure doesn't get paid that well. That's the sad thing about education. You know what I mean? But that's the truth. Don't think that, you know, because you're pretty, I can't just make up in my mind you're not a 6'2" supermodel. Like, I really care about that. You know, 110 pounds. It's always, I'm jealous of you. I'm intimidated by you. I'm going to find some way to perpetuate a narrative to try to make you feel like you're insecure about yourself. Unless I'm actually that crazy to believe my own BS. And that's where I am. I'm like, is this person really believing his own BS? Because I'm not saying anything, because I don't answer people. There's really no one that I speak to besides my daughter and my son most of the time, because like I said, it's my family. I take care of them, and there's really no one else here. Now, unless I go, talk to someone briefly, I don't know, doing something that I'm doing, but it's none of your business anyway. But that's what game we're playing, right? Even though it's none of my business, if I don't know, I know this much, right? I know just this much. And if I don't know the rest, I'm going to make up the rest, because I'm going to try to force you to tell me all of your business, because I believe that your business is mine. Now, the crazy part is you can ignore this, but if you get like one little idiot, a white male especially in law enforcement, or a white male who believes him to be better than you in some perpetual way, most of the time it's just white privilege. You get anyone who's in a position of power, even a black male with low self-esteem, you're going to be sitting here actually defending yourself against something they made up. And when you don't know what someone made up and they're attacking you, stalking you, it's a terrible feeling. It's like Tasha K is gossiping about you behind your back, and she's hiring private investigators. For you guys who don't know, she's a gossip columnist who does stuff like that and attacks people and stuff. You know what I mean? Allegedly. To a point where people are very uncomfortable around her and don't, even celebrities don't want to deal with it because they're shady. TMZ does the same thing. A number of other people do the same thing, trying to dig up something so they can get paid off of you. Meanwhile, back at the farm, you're being your own sweet little self, paying your bills, doing what you need to do, wondering, what will it be next? Sorry. So could you imagine that emotional trauma? You're always like, what is this fool up to now? But generally, it's always the same thing. Lucky for you, there's only so many lies that somebody can tell that even remotely sound like they're true. I don't know. I think this fool has had me as gay, has had me as hypersexual, has had me as married at one point, has had me dumb apparently all of my life, has had me lonely, has made up that I have psychological problems. I'm like, bruh, you're going to have a hard time proving that. And they hard pressed to sit up there and try to prove somebody else's, something they made up. And again, when you're looking at things like that, you're also looking at fraud. You're looking at a lot of people who are trying to make money off of lying on other people because they already had something set up from the beginning. And that's what I'm looking at. I told you the other day about priming. That's what I'm looking at. Fraud. I'm looking at putting these mofos in jail. This is just a hassle beyond belief. You can't be but so nice. And I don't think they just in general understand the frustration of trying to get an honest answer from a doctor. And that's real talk. And I mean, I have no problem with my insurance. I try to pay on time, but God forbid I don't. I wouldn't have any insurance. And I'll go to the test. I'll go to the doctors. I'll do all this stuff. And I'll come back with, we don't know. I went to a neurologist. I mean, sis, I really... I'm going to give it a college try this time, because no matter what racist nonsense is there, I'm going to keep trying, because it could be possibly something. I don't know. So I need to keep trying just in case. A lot of things run in my family, right? I don't have diabetes, but that runs in my family. I don't have any type of symptoms of that. But I've never had high blood pressure, high blood sugar. Like, I've had generally good health until, as I said, this harassment has advanced. If you can't breathe, you're going to be pretty darn careful to check your heart, right? Like I say, they love to target black women and think we're not going to say nothing, right? You got the wrong one right here. They didn't call, oh yeah, I forgot about the other room. Oh, because I didn't grow up with my father. He was an alcoholic. When I was younger, I remember there were some rumors about alcoholism. Of course, I was too young to drink at that time. they more than likely were spreading it about someone else, my family, my mother, or so forth and so on. You know, but he was in jail or incarcerated for all of my life, and they were divorced, you know, when I was a child, so I didn't even know him. But yeah, I'm quite sure it's, yeah, rednecks back in the day, what we call P-Town. I didn't really live in P-Town. I was just born there because I grew up in another town called Chesapeake, a little ways away. For those of you who are watching, who aren't from the same area, because there's a lot of people from my hometown who follow me. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm over it. You know, with all the stress I've had, I guarantee you if I was any kind of alcoholic, I'd be dead by now. It's just stupid, malicious BS. And it normally is something where I say I've grown up with racism. I mean, serious racism in the South. You have no freaking idea. But if it keeps perpetuating in a cycle and this dummy is going where I'm going and just spreading the same rumors, and I'm just constantly going through narcissism, just, is that psychopathic narcissism? What is that? What is that? And I mean, I know I'm the one with the background in psychology, but I'm serious. I'm just trying to get you to imagine the arrogance, right? It makes you want to stick your foot up somebody's behind, but there's no one here. And you're sitting here like, okay, so all this stuff just happens as a coincidence all of a sudden. Again. Because that's the way it happens, and you're just like, yeah. Now, you should know, VA is a police state. It always has been. We have all those shows you see on TV, NCIS and yada, yada, yada. Most of those people are in Northern Virginia. Now, there's an NCIS that's in Los Angeles or whatever, wherever they are. But most of them are in Fairfax, around the area, because that's close to D.C. So the Pentagon's up there. I mean, we got the Navy, we got NASA. I mean, from the top to the bottom, we have nothing but law enforcement. Crooked state troopers, crooked. I was talking about the other day, sheriff's departments. If you want to know where not to go, and people will tell you that are driving anywhere on 95 going down to Florida, either avoid Virginia or drive slow. They know. Because they're going to try to give you a ticket. And I could drive any other state without an issue and possibly get pulled in Virginia. That's when you know that, you know, something's wrong. So I'm just saying, if anybody knows about anything like that, we know. When there's corruption, we know right away. So it's stupid for you to bother the one person in this world who's going to know that you're BSing. It just seems coincidentally stupid for you to be doing that. And for a nice person to continually be patient. It's absolutely absurd. You know, I get on my own nerves because I know how stupid people are. And to have Du Boisian double consciousness is what we call it. I told you the other day, it was W.E.B. Du Bois who came up with double consciousness, which is really actually based in psychology, where you're doing self-surveillance because people are, you know, looking at you. So you're prone to internalization, you know, to saying, what am I, you know, what's wrong with me? What am I doing? But it's important never to internalize that. Because if you start internalizing that person, I'm telling you, you could be the dumbest person in the world, but you're going to pick up on internalization of any aspect. That's why I say, when you're dealing with me, and you know I don't internalize, and you can look right at my face and tell, you're wasting your time. Because I can read you backwards, forwards, upwards, downwards, and I've never in my life internalized anything. It takes me, well, I won't say that, because just to live your life every day, you have to question yourself. When you go into a store, is this person racist? Is that person doing this because they're racist? So forth and so on. So yeah, we all internalize just a little bit. But I don't project that. I'm not going to further internalize that and be like, oh, it was this I did or that I did. And I don't think that anybody who knows me ever questions, you know, whether or not I do that. They know I don't. So it's just absolutely absurd. They tell people the exact opposite of your personality. And then when you say something, then they call you a B. Because, of course, women who speak their minds, something's wrong with them, right? Oftentimes, the people who are doing this are often the people that are themselves guilty of that type of situation as well. You know that, right? So if they're accusing you of something, it's because they're covering up their own BS. I mean, we knew that from grade school, right? I told my daughter that. I used to tell her anyway when she was on the school bus when she was younger. I was like, if any little kid is picking on you, it's because they got problems at home. And they're coming to school with those problems and they're projecting it onto you. And that's because the other person has insecurities, you know? So what children learn. But when you're an adult, it's sad. When you're sitting here dealing with somebody and you can't see, and somebody's fake and somebody's phony and somebody's crooked. These people are, informants trying to keep themselves out of jail. They'll lie on anybody. They'll lie on their own mother to keep themselves out of jail. They'll try to find someone vulnerable and someone to attack and someone as smart as I am. If they can't make a lie seem true, then they'll just keep lying until they can try to make it seem like that lie is 10,000 lies and hope that one of them becomes true. They'll try to step in your way in some form or fashion so they can make their lie become true. You know what I mean? Like they'll tell your employer, which is absolutely illegal if you're applying for a job, that, oh, I know this about her. They'll just spread a rumor and you won't get the job. As if white supremacy wasn't enough of a reason, for you to be denied. And the fact that there's not only an education gap, there's a wage gap. The discrimination gap is what they need to call it. And as far as I'm concerned, just like in Canada, where they paid them, that money, African Americans got some absurd amount of money for reparations. They're African Americans, they're Black Canadians. Just recently, Trudeau put that through. We need to get something for that discrimination gap, especially Black women. We get discriminated on the basis of sex and race. This is not liberalism. This is reality. We do the same jobs as white women and get paid less. We do the same jobs as white men and get paid less. And we do the same jobs in some cases as Black men and get paid less. And I say some cases because it depends. Unfortunately, sometimes Black men don't have the same levels of education as we do. So it just depends on, it has to be the same exact job. But yeah, in academia, I guarantee you I can name cases, scholars, professors that get, women that get paid less than men. So absolutely. Black women get paid less than Black men. Yeah. It's not every case. But I think there needs to be an evaluation of what's going on here. I mean, really, honestly, some white people are still wondering why you're not financially doing as good as they are. And I'm not even going to talk about the CRT thing because that's stupid. We don't study critical race studies except for in college. And it's a specific course. Race in general and the study of history is not critical race theory. These people are nuts. But you want to get rid of, historically, all these talks about intersectionality and how we get paid less and get discriminated against, which is really what Kimberly Crenshaw wrote intersectionality about, racism and sexism. They've changed sexism to genderism, which has created a problem. But the truth is, it incorporates race, class, and gender because when we file with EEOC for a complaint, you have to pick as a Black woman race or gender. This is where this started. Absolutely. And I've been in this situation where I've done that before. And I've walked in there like, pick one. And they will deny your claim. I mean, you absolutely have to have staunch proof, video, handwritten stuff calling you all kinds of racist, sexist names. You got to have staunch proof, though you can't get through as a Black woman through a victory with EEOC. Because you have to pick racism or sexism. And it's so hard. Somebody says, oh, she has a big butt and nappy hair, and she came to the office like that. Which one is it? Both, right? So you can't sue for one or the other because you're like, that's where intersectionality first began. And that's what it was for, not the hijacking of gender identity. And that was purposely done. And if those of you who follow me on Twitter, I'm not going to get too much into this because I really have to go finish fixing dinner. But You know, there were some statements about COINTELPRO and all this stupid stuff that T.I. was making. I mean, he's an idiot, but he may have just told you guys what's going on, where they've hijacked all of your systems here. And, you know about Black Lives Matter, Patrisse Cullors resigning. That was fake anyway. Black Lives Matter is fake. I've been an activist for longer than some of these kids have been on the face of this earth. And many of you know that. It was fake. We needed a unified voice, but we didn't need the voice that was given to, well, I would say us, but to the youth. Because that was just something that was basically to preempt you from actually having a real voice. And so are some of these kneeling, praying activists up there. Oh, please, don't put us back on the slave field. Please let this man out. I mean, I appreciate that. But NAACP needs to be separated from religion. We need legal action. Period. If you don't have that legal action, you're going to have nothing. And people are going to continue to get killed. And I'm not just talking about black men either. Because they tend to still ignore black women that get killed. So I don't like to intervene in that because people need to learn that for themselves. You can't teach people what they don't want to learn. They will learn it for themselves. And they'll think, oh, you're hating, you're this or that. No, I just know when things are fake because I've seen a lot. I know a lot. And I can tell by the way they're treating me that what they're looking for is someone fake. They have an agenda. And people that tell the truth, they don't like. They don't like me. And I don't care. Which is some of the reason that all of this hate is coming my way every 5 minutes. I will let you know the next time I decide I'm going to get up and do some porn or do something that's ridiculous. That ain't going to happen. I don't even know that's out there because, I mean, I don't know Ray J to my knowledge. You know what I'm saying? But then again, I doubt I would get that Kim Kardashian white privilege treatment either. Some of hers was just elitism, whether you want to call her white or not, because she had money. So it is what it is. You're in the circle or you're out of the circle. And they'll try to block you and say all types of awful things about you because you're trying to help the masses. I help people. I don't care. No one's ever going to make me be an evil person. No one's going to make me go after someone purposely or to purposely disrespect someone. I'm never, ever going to be that type. But I will defend myself. And I will, if you come at me, tell you the truth. You can pretend all darn day. You can be every freak, every pervert, every idiot. But you better make sure that when you're pretending, right? I'm not a therapist. I'm a psychologist. Or I should say, because you actually need to have your PhD technically to be called a psychologist, okay? So technically, I'm a social scientist because I have multiple degrees in social science. We'll say that. But just know I have a background in psychology, and I'm not a therapist. But, you know, and one reason I'm not is because I understand people's points of view, but I can't really console you, especially in situations such as this. Suppose your stalker came in and wanted you to give them therapy, but you knew that was your stalker, right? I mean, we deal with theory. We deal with rationalizing things that are before us and analyze them so that we can prevent things from happening in the future, not dwelling upon at this very moment you're having a psychological problem. How do we analyze that personality-wise and get you some medicine to get you where you need to be or what type of therapy? Although I understand that, I'm a very caring person. I will not be manipulated by anyone. I think a lot of people know that. I think that's why this person is doing it, because this person knows that. But they're going to keep playing it off. And the more I keep saying stuff, they're just going to be like, she just talking. No, I'm not. You can't do this but for so long. I mean, it's absolutely stupid. It is just like perpetual nonsense. I don't know. I'm going to leave it up to you guys to hopefully figure this out, because you try to keep a positive attitude, but if someone is being negative towards you, it's quite difficult. And, you know, people see you in a bad mood, they see you having a bad day or something, and they think, oh man, what's wrong with her? This. And I've come to find that it's only this. It isn't anything else. It's only this. And that's what's so frustrating. Because they don't let people get the best of you, but how could you stop it if you don't know who this person is? And they know this. That's why it's stalking. That's why it's malicious. Because you can't address it directly to this person except for what I'm doing right now. And they know this. And they just keep pretending. And I'm just like, it's nerve-wracking sometimes. I tell you, it is nerve-wracking. You're just like, what will this idiot do next? I've gone and my car has been acting up. I mean, just crazy stuff. You could tell someone put something in the tank, and you know, things normally associated with, like, you would call, in certain states it's a felony, like you flatten women's tires and things such as that, domestic violence. But I don't have any spouse or any boyfriend, so it's not domestic violence, it's stalking. It's immature in one way, and they all try to play it off like they used to back in the day before they made it a felony to put things in people's food. And that's why I'm just like, where is federal law here? What is going on? Have these fallen off the books? Is that what it is? Since the 90s, they're no longer felonies? So these people are doing it to think they can get away with it? Something's wrong here. Don't shoot the messenger. And I mean, if you guys are going through it too, then you need to say something. Because it won't get resolved. You can't just say, oh, it'll get better. Oh, I'm just pretending like it didn't happen, or so forth and so on. It's not going to stop. The more these people do this, the more arrogant they're going to be. Between you and me, I think it's better to say something than to not. All right. Till next time, I'll let you guys go. I'm going to go get something to eat. I'll talk to you later. Bye.